Welcome, everyone. We appreciate you for being here, especially on a Monday afternoon. We appreciate your time, and we appreciate those who are tuning in remotely. I want to recognize Thomas Klaus, who has joined me from the Kentucky Department of Education. He's an academic program consultant in the Office of Teaching and Learning, and he is assisting tonight in taking minutes for us. So before we get started, this meeting must comply with the requirements of the Open Meetings Act. Accordingly, CMA members must ensure that their video is streaming and can be seen through the duration of the meeting. So members, please mute your microphones when you're not talking. However, all discussions must be broadcast to the public. Therefore, be sure that your microphone is not on mute when you speak. Every time you speak during the meeting, please unmute your microphone, state your name, take a short pause, and this will give the software time to recognize you. For any roll call vote, it will be necessary to record the vote for each committee member, which at that time the member should state his or her name, pause, and then state I vote yes or I vote no. So we're going to start with a roll call. And at this time, we're going to document the attendance of those present at today's meeting. Names will be announced according to how they're listed in KRS 158-842. When I call your name, I will also include the role in which you've been assigned as provided in statute. When your name is called, please state your name for the record and announce present. To begin, I'm serving as the Commissioner of Education's designee, and I will announce my name for the record that I, Crystal Rowland, am present. The President of the Council of Post-Secondary Education or designee, Amanda Ellis. The President of the Association of Independent Kentucky Colleges and Universities or designee, Mason Dyer. The Secretary of Education and Workforce Development Cabinet or designee, Jamie Link. A representative with a specialty in mathematics or mathematics education who has expertise and experience in professional development, especially with coaching and mentoring of teachers from each of the 9 public post-secondary education institutions defined in KRS 164001, University of Kentucky, Lisa Amick.
Lisa Amick, present.
University of Louisville, Jenny Bay Williams.
Jenny Bay Williams, present.
Morehead State University is vacant. Western Kentucky University, Kenita DeClux. Northern Kentucky University, Sarah Caston. Eastern Kentucky University, Jamie Marie Miller. Kentucky State University, Jonathan Rogers.
Jonathan Rogers, present.
Kentucky Community and Technical College System, Jason Taylor.
Jason Taylor, present.
Murray State University, Ed Tommy.
Ed Tommy, present.
Adult Education Instructor, Zach Gibbons.
Zach Gibbons, present.
Adult Education Instructor, Tanner Strine.
Tanner Strine, present.
Elementary Mathematics Teacher, Jeannie Stumbo.
Jeannie Stumbo, present.
Elementary Mathematics Teacher, Alvia Littleton. Middle School Mathematics Teacher, Amy Leesgang. Middle School Mathematics Teacher, Natalie Rashad.
Natalie Rashad, present.
And I see that Alvia Littleton is with us.
Yes, sorry, I was still on mute. Alvia Littleton, present.
Thank you. High School Mathematics Teacher, Ashley Adams.
Ashley Adams, present.
High School Mathematics Teacher, Joanna Stevens.
Joanna Stevens, present.
Elementary School Administrator, Todd Wooldridge.
Todd Woolridge, present.
Middle School Administrator Chris Barwell. High School Administrator is vacant. Executive Director of the Kentucky Center for Mathematics, Kelly DeLong.
Kelly DeLong, present.
Thank you. And we have a quorum. Thank you, everyone. So the minutes, I'm going to drop the minutes from the September meeting into the chat, and those were sent previously via email. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Can you state your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Natalie Rashad, middle school math.
Thank you. So Natalie Rashad has made a motion. Do we have a second?
Jenny Bay Williams, I'll second the motion.
Okay, we'll continue with a roll call vote. Alvia Littleton,
Alvia Littleton approving.
Megan Ellis is not here. Amy Leesgang. Here. Ashley Adams.
Here, approving. Ashley Adams.
So you can say I vote yes or I vote no.
Okay.
Chris Barwell. Ed Tommy.
I vote yes.
Jamie Link is not here. Jamie Marie Miller is not here. Jason Taylor.
I vote yes.
Jeannie Stumbo.
I vote yes.
Jenny Bay Williams.
I seconded the motion. I also vote yes.
Joanna Stevens. Jonathan Rogers.
I vote yes.
Anita Duclaw. Kelly DeLong.
I vote yes.
Lisa Amick.
I vote yes.
Mason Dyer. Natalie Rashad, she made the motion. Sarah Caston is not here. Tanner Strine.
I vote yes.
Todd Woolridge.
I vote yes.
Zach Gibbons.
I vote yes.
The September summary minutes have been approved. Next, I have the agenda in the chat that was sent prior to tonight's meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Alvia Littleton making a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you. In a second,
Jeannie Stumbo, I second that motion to approve tonight's agenda.
thank you. So we'll do a roll call vote. Amy Leesgang. Ashley Adams. She's frozen. Chris Barwell. Ed Tommy. Are you able to unmute, Ed? There you go.
Yes.
Thank you. Jason Taylor.
Yes.
Jeannie Stumbo. Seconded. Jenny Bay.
Jenny Bay Williams, yes.
Joanna Stevens.
Joanna Stevens, I vote yes.
Jonathan Rogers.
Jonathan Rogers, I vote yes.
Kelly DeLong,
Kelly DeLong, I vote yes.
Natalie Rashad,
Natalie Rashad, I vote yes.
Tanner Stream,
Tanner Strine, I vote yes.
Todd Wooldridge,
Todd Wooldridge, yes.
Zach Gibbons.
Zach Gibbons, I vote yes.
Thank you. The agenda has been approved. So at this time, we'll need to elect a permanent chair to serve over the next year. The chair will be responsible for presiding over all the meetings and coordinating the functions and activities of the committee. We will select the chair by way of a majority of vote. Is there a person who would like to act as a committee chair? And everybody jump at once. I wonder, Dr. Bay Williams, if you would be able to speak a little bit about chairing the committee and maybe some of the activities in the past that might help support people if they're considering nomination for the chair.
Absolutely. So let me talk about the work and the possibilities just for a minute. It is, you work with the people at KDE, and right now it's Crystal. In terms of setting the agenda, you can see that she has done all the heavy lifting in terms of creating the agenda. There's a lot of support at the State Department for making sure that all the things that need to happen in legislation do happen. So when I was chairing, I did not have to worry about that. And then it's just coordinating across the subcommittees if we do subcommittees. So traditionally we have thought about our priorities and we've come up with like 3 or 4 working groups. And then so we go to breakout groups and we work on those tasks, whatever they are. It could be writing a letter to the legislatures. It could be working on recommended best practices for supporting students who struggle or whatever that thing is. So that's your working group. And so somebody leads each of the working groups, but you as the chair are making sure that whatever documentations have come in, that people have a chance to edit them and review them, those kinds of things. So there's that kind of work. And I think the chair, as they are elected, will have the opportunity to decide what's a reasonable amount of work for this committee to accomplish. As we read at the last meeting, there's a lot of things in legislation that this little volunteer group that meets 4 times a year for an hour are charged to do. So I think the chair is able to help us really prioritize to have an impact on math achievement in Kentucky. That's really our priority, and to complement other efforts and not duplicate. So we need somebody who is willing to serve in this role. And it is, you learn a ton, you meet lots of people, and it's not an enormous amount of work. So I would encourage you to really consider it as a great service to Kentucky. What would you add, Crystal?
I think you did a beautiful job in really helping the committee to understand some of the previous work that the committee has done as well, and sort of the power and influence that the chair has really in thinking through how the committee engages in the work. So, I don't want you to think of it as much of a lift as much as it is just an influence in the direction of the committee, if that makes sense. Are there any questions that you all might have for Dr. Bay Williams about chairing, anyone that might be considering nomination for that? A quiet group. So the chair serves for the calendar year. So every year we will elect a new chair. I don't know if that is helpful to know that it would be a commitment until this time next year. So approximately across 3 meetings, basically.
Right. It's not a huge commitment. It's a really interesting year to take it on as the committee is reinstating itself. So you get to sort of define, how we operate. So I really encourage you to consider, like I said, you have this great team at KDE to really help make sure that it doesn't all fall on you, and you're just guiding the work. I really can't do it. I just want to say I was the chair when we were disbanded, so I agreed to do it through this meeting, but I really cannot take it on this year. So I'm really, really staring at the people on screen, hoping somebody would be willing to take on the role and lead the group this year.
I mean, for the sake of
I got kicked
competition,
out for just a minute.
Yes, Ashley.
I got kicked out for just a minute when you brought it up. I was just, what are the details for it?
So we are charged with electing a permanent chair for the year. So this person would serve over the next calendar year as the chair of the committee. And so that person would be responsible for basically, as Jenny Bay explained, helping to inform the direction of the committee, helping to coordinate messaging across any work groups that we might have, thinking about the work that we have coming up. There's 2 more meetings this school year, and then there would be another meeting probably in September, similar to what we have now. The chair is responsible for presiding over meetings and coordinating the functions and activities of the committee. But again, that is within with support with liaisons from the Kentucky Department of Education. So at this time, we are looking for anyone who would like to act as the committee chair.
I mean, to break the ice, I'll say I'll put my name in the hat, but I don't think coming from adult ed, it would necessarily be the right lens to do it. But just to break the ice so we're not sitting in silence, I'll, for the sake of competition.
I don't mind to do it also.
Who was that?
Ashley Adams.
Ashley. Okay, thank you. The strategic plan, which I know we want to go back and visit and take a look at, especially post-COVID, is really intended for P20. So it's not just this should be led by K-12 teachers, because I think often we look at state summative assessment results to sort of quantify where we are with mathematics in Kentucky. But, the important thing is that we are looking P20. So I would count you out because you work with, adult ed. We have 2 names, Ashley and Tanner. Either of you feeling more called than the other, or?
Also, with the voice broken, so sorry. I was just going to say, are there others that are, I can't see everybody on screen because we have a sizable group, so I can only see the half that I can see. So would anyone else like to unmute themselves and be considered for the role? And then Ashley, I cut you off, so please repeat what you had just said.
I don't mind if Tanner's really interested in doing it, then I'll take my name back out. That's fine.
It's election year, maybe we go to a vote, that's it's always fun. I've got some super delegates I'm looking for, electoral college, all that good stuff.
Oh, would each of you want to give us a little bit of your background and then we can do a vote?
Actually, go ahead if you'd like.
Yep. I'm Ashley Adams. I'm in year 21. I teach at Pikeville High School. I taught 7 years at Betsy Lane High School when I first started teaching and then moved to Pikeville. I have taught everything from Algebra 1 to AP Calculus and pretty much every class in between there. And I did a little bit of 8th grade math 1 year, like a half a year. I helped out with some 8th grade math stuff. And I've been involved lately with a lot of the roadmap design with KDE and with the range finding on the testing and things like that. That's some stuff that I've been involved with lately.
On that note, I think you should get it, but just to give you some background. So my name's Tanner Strine, and my background is in adult education primarily. Started about 10 years ago teaching mathematics, but truth be told, in a lot of adult eds, we teach everything that's on the GED. I've been involved in a few different committees and groups. Zach was a part of one that we were both in, which was Teaching Skills That Matter, which was a kind of very pragmatic, different way of teaching mathematics and other things based on some essential skills. And I've been around probably just about every part of the state teaching mathematics, but I will say in a high school equivalency setting, we don't really touch much above Algebra 1, Algebra 2 at most, and most students just Algebra 1. So I do think I would be rather limited there. But I do think one of the few things that does give, that I think Zach and I can offer, speaking for him here, we get to see a lot of students who fell through the cracks at some point. So we've found creative ways to work with those students and get them interested in mathematics. So I do think that is a unique perspective that I would bring.
Thank you. So I think at this point we'll do, should we do a roll call vote, yes or no on one candidate and then the other, or just roll call and then state who you would select as chair for each one? What would you recommend, Jenny Bay?
Well, I think it would be nice if people could vote anonymously.
Yes.
I'm hearing Tanner saying election year.
Yes.
I've had a good day so far. I don't want my feelings hurt. You know, it's like, it's been a good day so far.
And also on roll call, it's tricky because you know what happens is you hear like the 3 people before you, and then you're like, well, I don't know. I just think that that's a tricky way to go. So I'm not sure, like, I don't have the skill set to do an on-call vote. Does anybody else on this call have a suggestion for how to do this efficiently? Could be an email to like Crystal and I, so we could check each other's, you know, so it'd have that sort of dual count. What is it? I'm not sure. I wasn't ready for this part, Crystal.
Can you not create a poll that we can do anonymously? Can that not be created?
Right. So in Zoom, they have that. I don't know how to do that in Teams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
I have a Google form that I will drop in the chat that
Okay.
you may complete.
Look at Crystal there, multitasking.
There we go.
I just want to say I'm super grateful to both of you
Yes.
for your willingness to serve. And so it is a really important role. So thank you.
I agree. We went from 0 candidates to 2 very fantastic candidates. So I have dropped a Google form in the chat. If you'll go ahead and click on that and vote.
It's asking
Hey,
us
Chris.
to log into our Google, which makes me think it's not anonymous, and it's also asking it's restricted access, and I can't open it.
Thank you for letting me know. Let me update the settings.
If this fails, we could probably send the 2 of you a message on chat, just the two of you.
Yeah, I was looking. I know Zoom used to let you do like direct messages, but I'm not seeing that in Teams.
All right, I've updated the settings.
Crystal, are you able to see on roll call, like who's voting?
So we've gotten 13 responses so far. So that should be the total of the committee that is on. But I think for official, I will make a motion to appoint the person that had the most votes and then do a roll call of yes or no, so that that person is confirmed. Does that sound okay? Okay.
Can I just clarify, was the voting anonymous or is it like making sure that everybody there voted?
It is anonymous.
And I'm just throwing this out there. I do not care at all, but one person could have filled out multiple forms, correct?
That is true. And that's why I will bring forth the name that had the most votes first for a roll call vote to be affirmed by the committee with a majority vote. And if that name is not accepted by majority vote, then I'll bring forth the second name. Does that sound
okay? Thank you.
Good? Yeah. We want to do this right. Okay. So the person on our poll that had the most votes was Ashley Adams. So do we have a motion to approve Ashley Adams as chair?
Yeah, I will motion to approve that in good faith.
Thank you, Tanner. And do we have a second?
I will
This is
second that
Lisa
motion.
Amick. I second.
Who was that again?
This is Lisa Amick. I will second that motion.
Thank you. And now we'll do a roll call vote. Alvia Littleton. Amanda Ellis.
Alvia Littleton, yes, sorry.
No, you're fine. Amanda Ellis. Amy Leesgang. Ashley Adams.
Yes, Ashley Adams.
Chris Barwell. Ed Tommy.
Ed Tommy, yes.
Jamie Link. Jamie Marie Miller. Jason Taylor.
Jason Taylor, yes.
Jeannie Stumbo.
Jeannie Stumbo, yes.
Jenny Bay Williams.
Jenny Bay Williams, yes.
Joanna Stevens.
Joanna Stevens, yes.
Jonathan Rogers.
Jonathan Rogers, yes.
Anita DeClaw. Kelly DeLong.
Kelly DeLong, yes.
Lisa Amick.
Lisa Amick, yes.
Mason Dyer. Natalie Rashad.
Natalie Rashad, yes.
Sarah Caston. And Tanner seconded. Todd Woldridge.
Yes.
Zach Gibbons.
Zach Gibbons, yes.
The motion passes. So Ashley Adams will serve as the committee chair for the next year. Thank you for volunteering. Tanner, thank you for volunteering as well. We had two very, very wonderful options, and we look forward to the work of the committee moving forward. So I wanted to come back and visit the committee charge and the next steps. That was one of the things that we saw in the feedback from the first meeting were some questions about what are some activities of the Committee for Mathematics Achievement, and where can we find those resources? So I shared this in the email that went out, but I also just want to pull up the website. So I'm going to share that real quickly. So thumbs up if you're able to see my screen. Perfect. So on the KDE website, we have the Committee for Mathematics Achievement website. And that website includes information about what should be in the strategic plan, as well as other activities of the committee. Drop in the chat. Over in the right-hand margin, you'll see meeting information where you can view the meeting as well as our meeting dates. Under additional resources, there's a mathematics fluency paper and position statement that was previously issued by the committee, as well as a link to the current strategic plan that you guys reflected on and gave feedback on at the last meeting, as well as our slides from the September meeting. So the current strategic plan has been in place since prior to the pandemic, and we know that Kentucky has changed in many ways since then. Your feedback from our last meeting indicated that you see changes in our learners, our teaching workforce, and our communities. And so we will come back together in February virtually to continue to refine our thinking around the plan. Based upon the feedback from the committee, we would like to offer an in-person convening in the spring where we can possibly break into some work groups to build this plan out. But we will send a survey out in order to select dates that work best for the committee. And there is a question in our end of session survey for you, really making sure that that is the full consensus of the committee is that you would like to be in person in the spring. So you'll be able to provide some feedback there. So with our current plan, I'll drop this link in the chat as well. With the current plan, it is based around needs. And so it's structured around 4 needs: assessment for mathematics achievement, effective mathematics instruction, which includes educator development, recruitment, and retention. And that was something that came up quite a bit in the committee's feedback. An expanded system of mathematics intervention, and communication and collaboration. So those were the 4 big needs that our current strategic plan are structured around. In our last meeting, you read through these and were asked to provide your thinking about these identified needs. Additionally, you responded to the survey that followed the meeting with additional thoughts. And in just a moment, we're going to give you time to read through all of that feedback that we received from the committee to look for trends. But before we dive into the feedback, I wanted to share another state's mathematics plan for you to kind of look at the structure. So I've dropped a link in the chat. This plan is structured around pillars. And so it was last updated in May of this year, and it's structured around high quality math instruction, timely proactive interventions, ongoing professional learning, and families, caregivers, and communities. Now, in our Kentucky strategic plan, we should address things from P all the way through grade 20. And so the pillars that are identified in this other state's plan might not be the same pillars that the Committee for Math Achievement in Kentucky feels are the most important for the focus. But I did want to share this with you to spark your thinking about how this plan could be constructed and to encourage you if you want to look for other models that may shape the thinking of the committee. So moving on, in the chat, I've dropped the feedback that was collected from the committee during and following the last meeting. And that includes what was submitted via the survey, as well as what you guys put on your Jamboard with Aaron and Maggie. And I'd like to give you about 5 to 10 minutes to read through the feedback and think about what you see as being emerging themes that should be addressed in our plan and our big ideas that might serve as pillars. So it looks like most people have had a chance to really kind of look through that feedback. And so I just want to leave space here for a discussion for you to kind of uplift some of those things that you would identify as being those needs or pillars that are kind of rising to the top for the committee.
Well, I'm seeing a lot of, we need more supports for teachers that are, you know, standard across the state for in-service and pre-service teachers. I feel like that was something that was coming out a lot.
And then
So
the
I-
math coach, to add on, I'm sorry,
It's okay, you can go.
just to add on to that, just the math coaching. And that goes back to having math coaches in the schools so that our teachers are prepared so that they can better service the students.
That was Jeannie Stumbo. Do you need us, Crystal, to say our name for the record for the comments, or you don't?
I think it would be helpful for the comments. I am excited for the discussion to get going and really sharing of ideas. Definitely professional learning across the continuum from pre-service into in the classroom, as well as instructional coaching to support those in the field.
This is Jenny. I'll just jump in since it's already on. I also saw a theme on coaching, which I think relates because it is a form of professional learning. So I appreciate how many people have their eye on coaching as a ongoing learning thing. And then the second thing that I really appreciated seeing is students' sense of belonging, their emotional engagement. I feel like that was mentioned in a couple of places. I really appreciated the elaboration on those ideas. I think that's really going to be critical to our strategic plan.
So this is Alvia. So what I saw is I do agree that there needs to be coaching, especially in the elementary levels, because what we fall into because of how you get your elementary certification. So you're a jack of all trades. So math may be the subject you're teaching this year, and it all depends on how well of a math student you yourself were, how much you feel about it, that then clearly affects the child that you're then teaching, because you may actually teach them the way you learned and moved on. So sometimes when we have adopted textbooks or curriculum, sometimes they are not used because that's not the way you learned it. But the problem becomes the child does not understand why they're doing what they're doing or what they need to do. So then when they get into the middle school and high school level and even college level, where you have people that have majored in mathematics, at the very least minored in mathematics, and they also have their own structure and rigidity around mathematics, and these students come into that saying, well, I can't even compete. So I do think the connection has to start in the elementary level for them to have an understanding of how this works. And I think that the coaches could be a bridge through all those levels to have an understanding, because sometimes a student does not understand the teacher, but they can still pass an ACT to get into a college with the math score that's acceptable. And there's only one math class most people have to take to get out of college. So then what happens to those other upper level math classes at the college level that they may need for future endeavors?
Ed, Tommy? Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I noticed, well, first of all, I really like the pillar structure where where our goals are focused around our values and our priorities. But I noticed that there is nothing that specifically mentions diversity or equity. All of our inclusive language, which in the existing Kentucky language, we don't really have anything that even kind of references it. But in the other example that we saw, they never specifically set any goals, whether it's for teacher diversity or, it says recruitment and retention of all teachers, but it doesn't give like any specific groups or goals. And the same thing for our students, because we know that there are gaps, both gaps in the comparison between the demographics of teachers that we currently have in the classroom compared to our student demographics. And we also know that there are gaps when it comes to our student achievement levels. So when we're creating pillars, I think that it's important that we have something that specifies that diversity, equity, and inclusion are some of our core values.
I appreciate that. And thinking through, that it impacts not just, you could consider it a pillar of itself, but then you've also talked about how it should inform efforts around teacher retention and recruitment, as well as those experiences that we envision for students as well. So I could see it being woven through those pillars or being a standalone to really make that big messaging that's important to Kentucky.
Absolutely, because one impacts the other. Research that I've done shows that having minority teachers improves outcomes for minority students. So they're really intertwined.
Ed, Tommy, I think the math teacher shortage is so severe that we need to find a way to look for a way to address it. And I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. And so I think that's one of the items it would be good to discuss. And I had a preliminary idea that could take into account the diversity as well.
Kelly D. Long. One of the themes that I saw was indeed the coaching, but I'd like to extend that to say that coaching at all levels, I think, is going to be super important for the continuity and to really push on student achievement. As we look at student achievement, particularly our 8th grade scores in the Commonwealth are troublesome. And so we are kind of investigating that and taking a look at it. Might I also add that I loved the comments with regards to this transition time from high school to post-secondary. And given that we are a P20 committee and that we do have some of the best thinkers here, some of the best university thinkers with regards to that transition, I believe that we have the opportunity, this beautiful opportunity, to make sure that our students, as they are coming out, can be successful at both our community college levels and our university levels. That I think that we could really push on and make some headway with the good brain trust that we have on this committee.
Tanner Strine. So kind of building off of both of the comments, I do think coaching would be very helpful, but I think something that we may want to include within the coaching is the interpersonal aspect of how we approach math. I felt like there were comments there. I don't know if it's enough to be a pillar in itself, but the idea of math phobia, or about the sort of one size fit all approach of, if a student's behind, they feel like they're out of place with their peers. And often I think that comes from students may have a antiquated or different way of thinking about math that might be a different approach. I'm just going to use a very simple example so I don't take too much time, but maybe they prefer decimals over fractions. But because this particular thing calls for fractions, they feel out of place, even though they understand conceptually what's going on. And I think teachers being able to see where a student's coming from and knowing the interpersonal of, your opinion is valued and you may be doing it not the way we're showing you, but it is correct in its own way, might be worth adding into coaching. And that could alleviate some of the phobia and stratification.
I think that's a good point. I think it fits in, as we've talked about, with student belonging as well, that students feel comfortable in classrooms to use the strategies that they have and that they trust their teachers can help them to make connections as well. Any other thoughts about emerging themes or pillars? I really think all of the things that have been mentioned tonight are very important, thinking about the teacher in the classroom, the experience of students, and also across that P20 continuum, all important things for us to consider. We'll also have space in the survey at the end for you to kind of go in and add other ideas that may be coming to you that may not have been included in the feedback thus far, but things that you definitely want to raise up for us to think about. And so tonight, I shared with you Louisiana's plan as another approach that we might consider when we look at structuring our Kentucky plan. But I'm interested if the committee would want to see additional examples from other states. Is that something that you would like for us to bring to you? We can talk about it now, but there's also some space provided on the survey at the end to get some feedback from you.
Yes, please.
I think it's always nice to see what other states are doing and kind of how they're structuring some of the things. But I appreciate the thinking of this group coming together to say, within Kentucky, these are the struggles that we are seeing and the things that are important to us and our values to focus on. So next up,
yeah, I just had a quick question. I'm just
Yes.
curious, why did we choose Louisiana's pillars for mathematics
So
as one of the examples?
Really, just as an example, I liked the way that they were organized and like, these are the things that we're going to focus on. And then the second page, they kind of had sort of their activities that they were promoting to support those. It is not anything magical about that state or anything fantastical about the pillars that they selected. It truly was just the structure and how they put that information together.
I'll add a little context to the Louisiana piece. Louisiana, as you all may know, has been usually one of the lowest performing states of the 50 when the NAEP, the NAEP exam comes through. But as we're all struggling with our lower scores post-COVID, Louisiana saw gains in reading in particular. So people started looking at what Louisiana was doing for that reason. So that started with reading. They started implementing letters. That's why there's all the buzz about letters, because Louisiana saw gains in the reading scores and they implemented letters. That this is an oversimplification, okay? Super oversimplification. So meanwhile, Louisiana also was legislating some things. So a lot of state legislation is looking very closely at what Louisiana is doing. And so that's moved over to math. Can we gain some insights from Louisiana? They, like Kentucky, have been very busy at their State Department trying to provide support in the state. I know they're Louisiana State folks. They're amazing people. And so I also so they are doing really good work, but I think the reason that Louisiana popped up out of 50 examples is because they're in the limelight right now. Or maybe that's a complete coincidence, but That's part of the Louisiana fascination right now, is what is going on in Louisiana, that they're, doing some really productive work. One thing that I like about the Louisiana one is it is the way I hope that we think about our strategic plan. You can have a 200-page strategic plan and iron out all the details and things like that. We can't possibly pull that off, in my opinion, as a small volunteer group. And so what they have is a beautiful, brief at a glance thing with the links to the work. So I could see us linking to things that KCM is doing, link to things that MAF is doing, link to things that they're doing in adult learning, that we can create a strategic plan that acknowledges all these very busy groups in the field. So anyways, I am curious also to look at other ones, but that's what I would say. And KCM has a strategic plan that I think we could gain some insights from, because we want to be synergistic with what KCM is doing. And I 100% appreciate the comment about diversity and inclusion that is missing from the Louisiana pillars, and which is interesting because they're doing a lot of work on diversity. It just doesn't show up on those pillars, so I'm not sure. But I'll email somebody there and ask about it.
And just sort of piggyback on that, Dr. Bay Williams, the simplicity of the plan that Louisiana has, I think, was a draw. You look at other states. I think California has a mathematics framework, and it's multiple pages. And I think the simplicity of being able to say, here are the things that we're pointing to in our state that are important, that we're going to recommend activities around, and being able to anchor into those, I think will be helpful for the work of this committee. Are thoughts or questions?
Crystal, if I might, I'd love to give a little shout out to little old Kentucky, the Commonwealth. There is some really good math coaching that's on the national radar of folks. At the last conference, a little presentation was done collaboratively at one of the national conferences, and it was standing room only, sitting down everywhere. People were interested in what Kentucky is doing. So kudos to your office, to the MAF, to Dr. Bay Williams, Maggie McGaffin, some of that work that we'd love to probably present here to the committee to be able to see, because math coaching is showing promise here in our state, and I think that we've got a good story to tell on that. So I wanted to give everybody a heads up, those folks that might not know about that MAF work.
Thank you, Kelly, for bringing that up as well. And we certainly want to celebrate and share things that are happening within Kentucky with those on the committee. And so the survey that I'm about to drop in the chat will ask a few information, get some ideas from you. But among those questions, we want to hear from you as far as what are some agenda items that you would like to see come up in future meetings, things that perhaps you want to learn more about. For example, Kelly was sharing about the MAF grant and the mathematics coaching that is going on in those schools in Kentucky. So for next steps, I have dropped the November CMA survey in the chat. So if you would complete this survey, this will give us an opportunity to provide additional information regarding our next meeting date, as well as provide input on the agenda items for the next meeting as well. So for our next meeting, we'll set a virtual meeting date in February, and we're on track to do an in-person date in the spring to be able to break out into some work groups and work on this more in depth. But again, I want to hear from the full committee on that decision. And so that is in the survey as well for you to weigh in on that. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I was wondering that Ed Tommy, Murray State, if I could mention one idea for people to kind of float in their head over the time until the next meeting, since it is so far away. The the teaching, thank you. The teacher shortage is so great, and I don't think there's any way of filling it for years and years. And we can talk about recruitment, but I don't know what form that takes. I had heard from someone that some schools used online materials such as Khan Academy in the absence of having a real teacher. And that got me to thinking that if a set of teachers were chosen and you could choose teachers from different groups so it could meet DEI sort of thoughts, and they could develop an online, say, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, pre-calculus, let's say geometry. I'm thinking about secondary mostly for the moment. Using HQIR, high quality and instructional resources, and hand selected teachers that could be across many different groups. And if a district found itself short of a high school teacher, then they could have that brought into their classroom. And there could be a middle school teacher there live with the students, helping them see the instruction and helping them understand the instruction given by some members of that group who developed the materials. And I was thinking that I was told that there were several different sets of materials that many different districts would have access to. It would fit in with the materials they already had, and that way, of course, they would look for live teachers whenever they could. But when that time ran out, they would have high quality instructional materials and high quality teachers, and they could be teachers across different categories, different ethnic groups, different economic groups. And there would be a live teacher in the classroom from middle school, let's say, to help the teachers with the projects and the discussion that were brought up in the online course. That was what I was thinking, and people can think about that in the meantime and have eggs to throw at it and stuff by next time. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Dr. Tommy. And I see that Zach has dropped a resource in the chat if you wanted to check that out, highflexky.com, and to see if that's a kind of setup similar to what you were proposing.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Natalie Rashad, I make a motion.
Thank you, Natalie. Do you have a second?
Jonathan Rogers, I second.
Thank you. All right, so this meeting is adjourned at 6:04 p.m. Thank you all for your discussion and your time tonight. I'm encouraged by this group and excited for the direction that you guys are moving.